that we are fragile emotionally, it plays out not only in front of everyone, but in our own minds. Also, I realize that I am emotionally fragile. So, a little bit of stress, a little bit of pressure on the ego, a little bit of challenge to my own image, and I feel that I have to defend myself, and that becomes the basis of most of the reactivity that I see in daily life. So that is what makes us fragile and what looks poorly on us in public as well as in our mind, because we tend to react or overreact in situations. There is another way to look at this, that no matter what stress comes to us, we have a capacity to absorb that. Whether it is emotional stress, bad news, anyone wanting to instigate us, imagining things, no matter what is available to us as a stimulus to react, my ability to hold on to my mental tenacity is what you call a robust person. That he's a person who is emotionally steady and will not react easily. He has the power to absorb lot of stress which may come from any angle. He will not react. He will be steady in mind. Whenever he needs to respond, he will respond with total control. That's what you call a person who is robust, mentally, emotionally robust. So you have a person who is fragile and another person who is robust. There's a third category of people. You have people who are being put under stress, either internally or externally, and they find that stress useful to grow. And that kind of personality is what you call an anti-fragile personality. So you have a personality which breaks down under stress and reacts. You have a personality where you do not break down under stress, you absorb the stress and tolerate it. So your tenacity is great. So that's a very good space to be in. But a even better place to be in is that you do not only absorb the stress, you do not only stop yourself from reacting, but you take the challenges that are thrown at you as an opportunity to grow. That kind of personality is what you call an anti fragile personality. So you have a fragile, robust, and anti fragile personality. Now, being anti fragile is, give me an example of something that grows under stress. We all are exposed to that particular idea that if you expose something to stress, it grows. If you put your muscles under stress, if you put your bones under stress, they grow. There are things in nature which grow under stress. You will find people are very creative when there is stress around them. Many people will perform under stress. Physically, you can see your muscles and bones grow, they are anti fragile. Courage is definitely a quality that comes out only under stress, that's anti fragile. Creativity is also something that comes out in moments of huge stress, different kind of stress though. So that is also an example of being anti fragile. We could stop at training ourselves for steadiness, or we can also think of all stressors as things that can help us grow and become anti fragile. If non reactivity is steadiness or calm tolerance, then anti fragile will mean that you have steadiness combined with growth. So, why just stop at steadiness? Take your non reactivity to its mastery, where you are using all the stressors of your life for growth. So, that's one way to look at non reactivity. Now, I have listed out another set of things where you will see why we react or what makes us fragile. There are some of us who are robust, there are some of us who are fragile by nature. So, what are the things or what are the circumstances that make people more fragile? If you have grown in a very protective environment, or your current environment is such that is overprotective of you, the overprotective environment is a recipe for making anyone fragile. I'm now sequentially listing out things. You can always pitch in and express any opinion you have. If you have a very protective environment, then that environment, either emotionally or with material things, provide you a lot of comfort. So anybody who has continuous excess comfort, either emotionally or materially, they tend to be more fragile than robust in nature. They have a tendency to react or break down very easily. Another category of people are those who have very rigid self image. Anytime their image is challenged, or they perceive a challenge to their image, they go into a meltdown mode. Anybody who has a rigid self image will try to defend it as soon as it is challenged, or even if it is about to be challenged, or they think it will be challenged, they go into a defensive mode, and that makes you more fragile. And it is very apparent with how people react. And those who are into perfectionism, they also react. Rigid self image and perfectionism are at some level related. It's not that you don't want to do your job well, you are more concerned about whether you could do it in a perfect manner or not, rather than you could do it in a efficient or a functional manner. So if you are someone who tends towards unnecessary perfectionism, you will always be challenged, because that kind of utopian idea of perfectionism in every small and big thing creates lot of internal stress, which leads you to become more fragile, and you keep reacting to things. There will be external circumstances that will always push you. You can fight for your idea of perfectionism uh, only up to a point. After that, real life takes over and you have to let go sometimes. So, perfectionism also makes you fragile. There are another set of categories if you are dependent on routine. So, if you have rigid scheduling or are a creature of habit and you want to repeat what you do every day, over scheduling or just being dependent on what your schedule is or what your routine is, if your schedule moves a little bit, that can make you react, because this is where you fear uncertainty. You want to schedule something so tight that everything has to follow an order, and that is where you are missing out, because you are over dependent or you fear uncertainty at certain level, you become fragile. So over scheduling or dependence on routine or perfectionism, they're all signs of being afraid of uncertainty, where your adaptability comes into question. Then people who are more adaptable will be less and less fragile. Either they will be robust or they will move towards anti-fragility. Similarly, obsession with prediction, that what will happen next. If you want to understand that, or if you always want to know what is going to happen next, then also means you want to control every outcome. Scheduling, routine, these are all moving towards you wanting to predict how your time will flow. You wanting to predict how your travel will go. You want to predict how the weather will go. You want, because you can predict, you can prepare for a long outing and micromanage things. So these are all pointing towards our fear of uncertainty. These are the broad behavioral patterns that make someone fragile. Now, okay, now there are two concepts, both come in Gita, in Buddhism, in yoga philosophy. there are different words that are used for the same idea. For equanimity, for non-reactivity, the character to develop or the attitude or attribute that we must train for is, in Gita, it is called samatvam or equanimity. Actually, samatvam yoga uchite. This is Gita second chapter 48 verse. This is where they are defining equanimity is yoga. If you go to Patanjali defines as yoga chitta vritti nirodh, where Patanjali is defining yoga as where you have achieved a state of perfect union if you have stilled the fluctuations of your mind. No fluctuations means steadiness. Steadiness or equanimity is yoga. So that's one way to look at non-reactivity. If you want to be non-reactive, the quality to develop is equanimity, tranquility, or non-fluctuating state of mind. Now, the question that comes is it unnatural to feel angry or to feel irritated or to feel disturbed by other people's poor behavior? Probably not. Yoga allows enough room for you to feel emotions. So if you are angered by injustice, or if you're angered by insult, or if your anger you feel is justified because of somebody's poor behavior, yoga allows you the opportunity to feel angry. What it does not allow you is how you respond to the anger which is rising within you. Equanimity will mean that you can see you are angry and still respond in a manner which does not agitate you from within. So, if you want to express anger and there is a need for you to show your displeasure, and that displeasure can only be shown through verbal display of anger or visible display of anger, that is allowed in yoga only if you have that expression has not disturbed you from within. You are so convinced that the way you are responding is the best way to respond in the given situation and is the correct way to respond in the current situation, that you are unperturbed by your expression of anger. So, any extreme response that you want to give back to the outer world is allowed if and only if you are not disturbed by the response you are displaying. You have multiple ways to respond in a particular situation. If you are choosing a certain way to respond, it is correct according to yoga only if you are not disturbed by the way you have responded. If your response disturbs you from within, today, tomorrow, or 5 years later, then that response was not correct, or your ability to handle your own response wasn't there. Some of us can display anger without getting agitated. Then you have the right to be angry. How can you be unperturbed yet angry? When you want to discipline a child, for example, you are very disappointed with somebody's behavior. You can see that there is a need to discipline someone. When you are trying to discipline your child, your choice of words and actions have to be such that it disciplines the child and yet never scars the child for life. If you can show your anger in a way that is not scarring the child forever, then that is a correct way to display your anger. Say you have a team of 5 people working, and because one of them is not pulling his workload properly, the whole project is sagging. The person who is leading the team will have to show his displeasure in some way or the other. Now, you could either show it very poorly by scolding the person in front of everyone, or you could choose your timing and method of showing your displeasure and discipline in a way that respects the other person and yet makes him do what you want to do. So you choose your response in a way, even when you are getting angry, and the choice of your response will make sure that whether you are perturbed or unperturbed after you have reacted. Even though you can see an emotion rising, you do not associate yourself with that emotion so much that you are bound by it. You have a distance between yourself and the emotion, and then you respond. You distance yourself, but you act both at the same time. This is what you call upeksha, where the mind remains even and you have wisdom to act as well. Non-reacting will not mean that you have no response. It is not a dumb state to be in, or it is not a state where you are. If samatvam, an idea that is coming from yoga, equanimity or steadiness, which is full of action, that also comes from Gita as well. So you have steadiness as well as action, both coming from the same scripture. So if you want to be a person of action, then you have to respond to different situations with steadiness. So that's the idea and how you deal with it. Would I make my point a little clear? So being anti-fragile. Now, if I want to become anti-fragile and develop inner strength to be steady in mind, what are the different areas of life where I have to work on to become a person who can exhibit steadiness under stress? I think if you are a person with average or above average physical strength, you become a more steady person in the mind as well. My physical weakness can become a cause of my own irritation, which makes me fragile under extreme stress, different kinds of stress. I have 5 areas of which I say that physical strength, one who has more physical strength and is a more steady person. If you are fragile in the body, you will be pushed under different kinds of stress. You may work through your will to a certain degree, but you will get tired much earlier, which will be a very ripe situation where you become fragile. I really want to know your thought on, do you think for mental steadiness or robustness, physical strength is needed?
Sir, I agree with that. I am physically little weak, and that puts pressure on my mind. I can feel that.
Yes, no? Yes, I hear you. Yes,
Actually, right now, physically, I'm not full fittest, so that
yes,
puts lots of pressure on my mind. Actually,
you
there is some pressure on positivity and everything.
absolutely. And does
I
that
I, I,
stress
I
get,
can understand that you're.
and does that stress gets passed on to your friends and family and your co-workers?
I try to not, but it can happen.
That's your mental tenacity. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Anybody else has experienced this, that when they are not at the best of their physical strength, do you feel stressed in the mind? Any, if you have an experience to share, please bring it on. That's one area that I feel, if I want to become mentally robust and move towards the idea of being anti-fragile, I must make an effort to become physically strong. A physically weak person can carry on with mental courage and willpower, but it does not harm us to have lot of physical strength. Especially women who, they go through lot of emotions and they do not train for physical strength. If they build physical strength, they will feel way more confident in dealing with people who are physically stronger than them, because they deal with men who are generally bigger and stronger. Women, I would say, should pursue strength more than men do. Men are generally heavier in the bones, they have more muscle, generally speaking. Women have to work with men every single day. They must ensure that they are pursuing physical strength. A physically strong woman can actually push back a lot of pressure that comes in workplace or even their homes. So become physically strong to handle stress that life gives and become more steady in your response. Your anger management skills, your irritability, everything, your breaking point gets pushed back. If on a scale of 1 to 10, you break at a scale of 3, if you are into exercise, if you are into building muscle, if you are into building strength, then you will break at 6, 7, or 8 probably. So that's one area where I feel that if I work on my diet, I become a mentally more stable person. I'll explain this a little bit. The kind of food I eat, my choice of food mm, has two, three aspects to it. One, what kind of discipline I am in currently determines the choice of my food. Mentally, if I am disciplined, I'll give a thought to what I'm eating, and that will help me take better decisions vis-a-vis food. If I'm eating well, or if I'm eating in a manner which is nutritious to my body, it indirectly supports my goal of gaining strength physically. Two, it helps me bring a clearer mind in my daily life. My mind is less foggy, my mind is less burdened by the food that I have consumed. Three, if my attitude towards food is not motivated by temptation to eat, then my mental energy in planning my next meal is less. That means I'm left with more mental space to handle work, to handle relationships, to handle important decisions instead of being lured by food every few hours. If I'm disciplined with food, the amount of mental space I get is enormous. I do not discount that. So these are few ways my discipline towards food gives me more mental space, keeps my mind fresh and less foggy. Clarity of mind comes and aids my physical strength. Clarity of mind gives me broader shoulders to solve problems and absorb pressure. Similarly, if I'm having more mental space to think about important things and not just worry about food, then also it results into me solving problems more clearly, more efficiently in time bound manner. Third, this point I did not mention, I use food as a way to distract myself. When I get overwhelmed by emotions or stress or pressure of any kind, I find food as an easy way out to distract myself. Now, the choice of food that I make to distract myself could be a simple cigarette, could be sugar laden drink, could be tea, alcohol, chips, fries, or comfort food. Now, those things are actually detrimental to mental clarity, which I need to handle more stressful situations. So, choice of food and the discipline in attitude while selecting food gives me a lot of mental freedom. If I want to become a more robust person emotionally, I must discipline my food first. If you are bringing discipline in your eating habits, you have a degree of self control, which is rare in today's times. People eat whatever they want now. That's why we have this health. is going down, even though we have more knowledge about food and people are more conscious with what they eat, yet they make common mistakes about food. Temptation and emotions eating is a sign of less maturity. If you bring maturity in dealing with the decision that you about eating, then you are making disciplined decision every single day. Every few hours you are disciplining yourself. Discipline, like meditation, is an art. You learn to concentrate on one thing, you can concentrate on anything. You learn to discipline yourself on the smallest things like food, you can discipline yourself in other emotions as well. To discipline yourself in the area of food is a very big. If you discipline yourself, there's a very big possibility that you will regulate yourself emotionally in every situation. There's a greater chance for that. If you agree with this, you pitch in. If you disagree, you pitch in. Yes, all agreed. Okay. For mental tenacity, the war of my mind is not played only in the mind. My exercise plays a role in how stable I am emotionally. My muscular strength plays a role in my mental stability. The choice of my food plays a role in my emotional stability. If I sleep well, it plays a very big role in my day to day irritability. If I'm a person who has slept enough, I will be less foggy in the mind. I will have more emotional control. If I have more emotional control, I will make better choices with what I eat and how I behave with others. So, sleep and rest is another very important aspect of me growing emotionally or me displaying emotional maturity. These three things are obvious, and these are not the battles that I fight in the mind. My major decisions of life may not go wrong because of less sleep, but my everyday irritability goes up because of poor sleep. My productivity goes down, my strength goes down. So if I have not slept enough or if I have not rested enough, results into me becoming a fragile person in the short run. If you are not sleeping well for months and years, that's a different thing. But if you're not sleeping well 3 4 days, that also has a cost on your short term irritability and emotional stability. So sleep becomes my third thing that I think is very important. If you want to be non-reactive, these are important things. Fourth one, of course, your mind training. If you understand the concept of equanimity, and if you want to be a person who displays tranquility no matter what, along with your willpower and understanding that everything is transient or everything is, it does not matter that much, other than the surface level understanding, you need to understand some deeper truths about life and how it is arranged. So you must understand and live the spiritual concept of impermanence. If somebody lives the concept of impermanence, they will react in a mature manner more often than not, because they are able to prioritize what is important and what is not. So if somebody wants to become non-reactive, they must understand the concept of impermanence. The concept of impermanence lies at the base of being a non-reactive or a emotionally robust person. On top of your understanding of impermanence, you have to add a layer of mindfulness and your ability to observe. If you train yourself in the act of observation, when you sit to meditate and you observe your breath and you observe your thought, then that act of observation can be like that. The exercise in observation can be taken into daily life. Observe your own behavior in real time and observe other people's behavior in real time. Observation creates a distance between yourself and your emotions. That results you responding in better manner. So that is another way you can become emotionally more robust. So first layer is your the in-depth understanding of impermanence and living it every single day. On top of that, a layer of mindfulness practice or your ability to observe can only come if you are actively involved in training yourself to observe your breath or to observe your thought, say 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day in meditation. That can be translated into daily life or real life example. Then third layer is that you put a premium to your tranquility, that you understand that tranquility is important and why it is important. Sometimes we justify our poor behavior. So, a emotionally mature person will know there is a cost to your body, to your mind, to your self image, to your confidence of poor emotional behavior or when you do not regulate your emotions. So, tranquility above all else is, if you put a premium to your own mental state, then you do not react, you take time to respond. Tranquility, practice of observation or mindfulness, and deeper understanding of what you call impermanence. So that's your part of emotional training or mind training that can translate into becoming a robust person emotionally. If you have a strong understanding of your value system, what really matters to you, then you will only want to up your response if that value system is breached by yourself or by others. All of us have a set of value system. It's just that we do not articulate our value system so clearly, and we do not articulate it to others, nor do we articulate it in our own mind. So create a framework of your own value systems, that these are my values, this is how I behave, and these are my red lines that I will not cross or allow others to cross. If you have an understanding of your own value system, then you will not react in every small little details. Only if something big happens, you will think or you will be pressed for a need to react. Understand and articulate your own value system. These are five different things that you can work upon to improve your capacity to absorb pressure and become a person who can grow with that pressure as well. So instead of being fragile and reactive, this is my blueprint to become a more robust. And generally we think of ourselves as emotionally unstable or emotionally stable, but if you are emotionally unstable right now, you can definitely graduate to a more emotionally stable state if you work on these five things. You can prioritize any, but you will need all five of them, I feel. Any last comments, any thoughts, please, anyone? All right, thank you then, and I hope it was worth your time. I really feel that we have become people who react at every little detail, especially online. You will find people are very aggressive in how they react. If we become a group of people who are more steady in our behavior, we will stand out as unique eh, in our environment right now. How should one react when people switch on fans in the class without consulting others? That is intense. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you in class. Thank you so much.